be a man, this is what you do. If you want to stay a boy, go and do what your other friends do. But men, so you know what? No, I'm actually not going to go hook up with a bunch of girls. I'm going to save myself for marriage. Actually, I'm not going to go do that. But if you want to go be a boy, go do that. It takes no skill and no talent and no self-restraint whatsoever just to follow your flesh. An animal can do that. A dog can do that. You know what mature people do? Mature people say no to what feels good and they pursue what is good. And far too often on college campuses, we have these grown boys, and I'm talking to a lot of you in this audience, and it's time for you guys to up your game. It's time for you guys to stop doing just what feels good all the time. Oh yeah, we're just gonna go get, blackout drunk till 2 a.m. and hook up with some stranger. No. If you want to stay in the lower standard, a miserable cycle of debt and suffering and depression, lack of community, go do that. Instead, on a Saturday night, say, you know what? I'm gonna hang out with some friends that are not gonna drink, are not gonna, engage with this stuff. And then maybe on Sunday morning, I'm gonna go to church, or I'm gonna go to mass, and then I'm gonna go work out, and then I'm gonna study. Who will be happier? You know I'm right. Who will be happier?
Alright, before we kick off today's episode, let's have some movie talk really quick. I just rewatched Hobbs and Shaw because they put it out on Netflix. Something that I fucking hate about Netflix is why do they put shit up and then take it down? You'll be in the middle of your favorite show, and unless it's a Netflix original, because let's face it, most Netflix original shows are dog shit. Some of them are good. There's Stranger Things, there's Cobra Kai, there's Wednesday. Most Netflix original shows are absolute dog shit. And they'll put out good stuff like Fast and Furious, the Spider-Man movie, something that is universally loved. They put it out for about 3 weeks and then take it down. Why? You know what service I use a lot? So something that is ridiculous about the entertainment industry is that you need multiple subscriptions if you want to watch what you want to watch to. You also have the option to pirate movies, which is illegal. But why is that even illegal? I don't know, because I've never heard of a single person ever getting into any kind of legal trouble whatsoever for watching a movie off of an illegal site. And everyone does it. Let's face it, everyone does it. Because no, we don't have the funds in this economy to... guys, I already have 5 subscriptions. I don't even use like 3 of them. Netflix is straight up dog shit. I actually prefer to use Amazon Prime because Prime has basically everything. And in the rare instance that there isn't a show that I want to see and they don't have it on there, guys, if there's a show or a movie that I want to see and Prime doesn't have it, I can literally rent it for like $3 or buy it for $5. Versus going on Apple TV or something and renting something for fucking $20. It's ridiculous. I want to cancel my Netflix subscription because it's absolute dog shit at this point. But there are some shows that I like to rewatch, like Cobra Kai, that I can't find anywhere else. Once again, I could pirate it. Then once again, that's illegal. But then once again, who gives a shit? Except if I start doing it, they might actually arrest me because they've been looking an excuse to lock me up ever since April. And again, I don't really care, so I might just stop pirating Cobra Kai. Oh, but wait, and then there's the porn act. Oh my god, let's talk about that. These 123 movie sites and all these illegal sites, they are so annoying. And this is ultimately why I use subscriptions. Is not because I'm afraid of going to jail, because I think it's really unlikely that I'd go to jail for pirating a movie. But the reason why I use subscriptions is because of the fucking porn ads. First of all, anytime you hit a button, whether it's play, full screen, whatever, it takes forever to load, or it will open up another tab that you don't want to open. Anytime you hit any button, pausing it causes the whole site to crash. Basically, you do anything on the site and the site crashes. It crashes on an average about 40 times before you finally get to watch whatever the fuck you were looking for. And then not to mention the porn ads that continuously pop up. You'll be sitting at a random cafe in public, and as the stranger is walking by happens to look over and sees your tablet screen. And now you look like a fucking porn addict. They're probably walking to the bathroom thinking to themselves, damn, is he such a porn addict he couldn't wait? I mean, I'm an addict myself, that's why I'm going into the bathroom to jack off, but this guy's just straight up watching porn out in public. Man, I thought I was bad. Now, The Fast and the Furious is one of my favorite movie series, and Netflix has been putting out a lot of their movies, so I've been rewatching a lot of them. And I've heard people complain over the years about how, oh, it's not about street racing anymore. There's so much action. It's so unrealistic. Well, no shit. It's a movie. It's not supposed to be realistic. If you started copying shit that you saw in movies, you'd be fucking dead. I'm sure y'all have heard this story before. I certainly heard it a lot as a kid. When Superman first came out, children ended up in the hospital because their parents failed to teach their children that there is a difference between fiction and reality. So kids were putting on capes and jumping out of windows because they stupidly believed that they could fly like Superman. First of all, y'all clearly didn't read the comic or watch the shows, because literally any iteration of Superman explains that he is an alien who looks like a human, and he gets his powers because he entered a different fucking atmosphere. That's a big reason why I prefer Batman over Superman. Batman actually, what he does takes skill. Superman, his planet exploded, so now he's got powers on planet Earth because he entered a different fucking atmosphere. Oh, the sun gives me my superpowers. Yeah, Batman has no superpowers and he still beat your pathetic ass. So he can fly not because of his cape. His cape is just part of his costume that looks cool. But he can literally fly because of his powers, which he gains from the sun. So even if Superman was real, it's pretty fucking obvious that not everyone is fucking Superman. And once again, fiction and reality are not the same thing. Yeah, kids in this generation are pretty fucking retarded. It looks like kids back then were also fucking retarded back then too. And parents are to blame for that because they let their kids become retards and then blame it on something like, oh, he's got ADHD, he's got severe depression disorder. No, he doesn't have ADHD. The reason why he can't fucking focus on anything important is because you've let him be glued to an iPad screen since he was 2 fucking years old. Literally, the minute he had the capacity to open his eyelids, you said, here's a phone, here's a tablet, here's a Nintendo Switch, something to keep you occupied, because I'm a lazy-ass parent, and I don't actually want you, and abortion is illegal, so here, I'm gonna put this Switch in front of your face so I don't have to deal with your bullshit, and I can go back to whoring around and going through a nasty divorce. Also, something else about the Fast and Furious movies, everyone's complaining, oh, it's not about street racing anymore. There are 11 Fast and Furious movies. 10 technically, but 11 if you include the spin-off, Hobbs and Shaw. If every single one of those 11 movies, more to come by the way, were about street racing and nothing else, do you honestly think people would watch it? Or do you think people would get bored and stop? Oh, they gotta stop making these Fast and Furious movies, man. Then why the fuck are you watching it? This is why they keep making it, because y'all keep watching it. And I don't blame you guys, I like it. It's very entertaining. Oh, but it's not realistic. Go watch a documentary then, you nerdy dumb fuck. You want some reality, don't even go to the fucking theater then. Because the whole reason why we watch TV is to escape reality. So since you're so addicted to reality, and you don't want to get away from your problems at all, don't watch TV then. Just go wallow in a cave with your depression and your ADHD and whatever bullshit disorders they have nowadays and go drown in your own piss, you insipid little cunt. In other news, Disney used to be a household name. Everyone was a Disney kid. Everyone fucking loved Disney. Now Disney's absolute dog shit. Honestly, anytime Disney announces anything at all, I quite literally don't even pay attention. They're making Toy Story 5, yet no one cares. They're making Incredibles 3. Why is Incredibles 3? This is a thing. The Incredibles came out in 2004, right? Then in 2018, they released The Incredibles 2. Over a decade after the first Incredibles. And now Incredibles 3 is set to release after 2028. Why are y'all waiting so long to make a damn sequel? Not to mention something that killed me as a kid is the first Incredibles movie literally ended on a cliffhanger, and I was waiting for basically my entire childhood for The Incredibles 2 to finally come out. So let's talk about some of the Disney sequels that came out last year. First was Moana 2. I actually really liked it. I liked the first Moana, and I liked the second one as well. They put almost no marketing in it whatsoever. I didn't go to the theater to see it. I forgot it was even in theaters. Popped up on my feed one day when I was looking through Disney Plus, so I decided to check it out. And it was actually really good. Mufasa the Lion King. Oh my god, this piece of dog shit. So first of all, Disney really thought that they could compete with Live and Learn and a live-action Sonic 3 with John Wick himself voicing Shadow the Hedgehog. They really thought they could outcompete that. Let's talk about why Mufasa failed. First of all, they changed the background story, okay? The original Lion King, then there's also Lion King 2 Simba's Pride that kind of touches on the history between Scar and Mufasa before the Lion King. It is more so focused on what was going on in the Pride Lands while Simba was away with Timon and Pumbaa at Hakuna Matata Falls. I was big into The Lion King as a kid, so I still know the lore. Now, The Lion Guard, this was a spin-off show that takes place between The Lion King and The Lion King 2, was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And this is where they really dive in to The Lion King lore. So it is explained throughout 3 seasons of The Lion Guard that Scar was actually, well, obviously his name wasn't Scar, but he got the name Scar after he got a scar across his eye. Scar was actually leader of this team called the Lion Guard, and they protected the Pride Lands from threats. Well, Scar kind of got cocky about it, and he was basically that guy who basically thought he was invincible and then ended up getting hurt because his self-consciousness was too high. Long story short, Scar trusted the wrong lion who deceived him and got him bitten by a snake. There's literally an animated episode showing Scar getting bit in the face by a cobra, and then there's a scar across his eye afterwards, which then Mufasa makes fun of him and nicknames him Scar, which then prompts Scar to eventually kill him. Now here's the thing, Scar tried to kill Mufasa multiple times before that infamous scene in The Lion King where he throws Mufasa into a stampede. Why was this cut never expelled from the Pride Lands or executed? Like, Mufasa was literally just letting this man, who was clearly the bad guy. I mean, I remember Scar scaring kids that were Disney kids back in the day, and I mean, you just looked at him and you know he's a supervillain. He just has that look to him. Nothing about him whatsoever screams, oh, he's a good guy, or maybe he's the good guy. So after watching The Lion Guard, we now know, oh, Scar's actually been trying to get rid of Mufasa before The Lion King was even a thing, not just during the first half of the film. So not only did Mufasa just ignore it completely and not do anything about it whatsoever, he also allowed his son to hang around him, knowing that Scar was a bad influence and just a bad lion in general. Why is this king in the Pride Lands? Yeah, no, Mufasa's a fucking idiot. Because he's so wise and offers so much wisdom, yet he lacks the courage. Bro, he's a literal lion. Lions are the foundation of courage. Like, they are the symbol of courage itself, of fierceness, of courage itself. Well, Mufasa wasn't courageous or brave enough or lion enough to kick his evil brother out of the fucking Pride Lands. And it ultimately led to his death and the suffering of his son. And also his son, they also tried to kill his son, and then it kind of, if you watch Lion King 2, basically Scar's wife rounds up a whole army of lions in Scar's name and tries to kill Simba multiple times and tries to take over the Pride Lands. She even has her son, who's also Scar's adoptive son, literally fake his love for Simba's daughter, also that Scar's son could get closer to Simba and kill him. Obviously, they failed because the bad guy always loses, but really? The fact that all of this could have been avoided if Mufasa would have just trusted his own instincts and kicked his brother out of the Pride Lands at the very first murder attempt. Here's why the movie Mufasa failed. First of all, diehard Lion King fans like myself know that's not how the story goes. They completely rewrote the entire story. So in The Lion Guard, they explained to us the entire timeline from before even Mufasa and Scar were even born, and how in the first Lion King, one of the big reasons why Scar became a villain, why he was so upset, was because Scar wanted to be king. Mufasa was king because he was the oldest. Scar was next in line to be king, but then Simba was born, which means that now Simba is next in line to be king. So unless Mufasa and Simba both miraculously die before Scar does, that means Scar's never going to be king, and that's why he wanted to kill them both, because Scar wanted to be king so bad. Well, now they've rewritten the story. Mufasa is basically an orphan. Well, no, he's not an orphan because his parents are still alive. His parents show up at the end of the movie. Do you guys... I swear, Disney does not know the definition of the word orphan. An orphan is a child without any parents because his parents are dead. Mufasa's parents were well alive. They showed up again at the very end of the movie. What happened was Mufasa got separated from them after he fell into a river, ended up in the Pride Lands. Taka, who eventually became Scar, found him, brought him to the family. And so basically Mufasa and Taka, aka Scar, are now adoptive brothers. Despite them telling us from literally the very first Lion King that came out in 1994 that Mufasa and Scar were biological brothers, despite the fact that they looked nothing alike. Now they're telling us, oh, Mufasa's not even royal blood, he's an orphan. Yeah, we don't know what the word orphan means, so we're going to call him an orphan. Okay, so he's not the king's biological son, which means that Taka is automatically going to be the next king, right? Oh, well, no, they're going to go on this whole adventure of how Mufasa and Taka are going to be... I don't even remember what half the movie was, but they eventually meet prominent characters like Rafiki, Zazu, what was his wife's name? I know it wasn't Sabrina. Fuck, whatever. Also not how the story goes because they explain how they all met in the Lion Guard. If y'all are into Disney lore, or more specifically Lion King lore, go watch the Lion Guard because it explains basically everything you've ever questioned in the Lion King franchise. Scar gets his scar when another lion attacks him and swats him in the eye. Okay, yeah, nope, that's not what happened, because in The Lion Guard, they explain that he got his scar from a snake, not another lion. So that's bullshit. Oh, and the whole thing about Scar being leader of the Lion Guard before he wasn't, yeah, doesn't exist. The Lion Guard doesn't exist, despite the fact that Kion, okay? Simba's son, Kion, is the main character in the Lion Guard show. He is the second child of Simba and Nala, the first being Kiara, who's the main character in The Lion King 2, and also the side character in the Lion Guard. Kion's the leader of the Lion Guard. He's the main character. Kion's whole personality is literally, he's the leader of the Lion Guard. That's what, if you don't know anything about the Lion Guard, you know that Kion's the leader of the Lion Guard. I'm sure there's some people listening who have never seen the movie Cars, but I'm sure you know who Lightning McQueen is, right? Ladies, let me ask you this, because I know we don't watch the same things. Most of y'all probably haven't seen all the Star Wars movies, or maybe any of them, because Star Wars doesn't really appeal to women, it seems. Do you know who Darth Vader is? Or Yoda? Or any of these iconic characters? Everyone knows that Khan is leader of the Lion Guard, and he's the son of Simba. Everyone knows that. Even if you don't like or watch Lion King, you know who he is. So, the Lion Guard does not exist at all in this movie whatsoever. Doesn't exist. Fast forward to the end of the movie, Simba and Nala return to the Pride Lands with their newborn son, Kion. Oh, so the future leader of the Lion Guard is in this movie, but the Lion Guard doesn't fucking exist? It's like Disney acknowledged the fact that they had already written this entire story, and then they said, you know what? Fuck that. We're gonna rewrite the story entirely. Yeah, no wonder your film was a fucking failure. Sonic 3, on the other hand, so first of all, Sonic is one of the best video games in real time. You know, DC's constantly complaining that they can't make a Flash video game because they don't have the technology for it. Yet you play any Sonic game, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic Frontiers, Forces, Generations, you are literally running at super speed the entire game. There's no excuse, DC. Level up your shit. So Sonic 3 is based on one of the most popular Sonic games called Sonic Adventure 2, which introduces Shadow the Hedgehog, which is a lot of people's favorite character, including my own. I'm so obsessed with Shadow, I'm looking at a statue I have of him in my room right now as I'm recording this. Sonic is cool because he runs at super speed and he can, he battles this evil scientist with all this futuristic technology, and he's got a lot of cool friends like Knuckles and Tails. Shadow is on a whole nother level of cool, because on top of being able to match Sonic's super speed, he can literally fly with his air shoes, and he's stronger than Knuckles, so he's as fast as Sonic, he can fly like Tails, and he's stronger than Knuckles. So he's basically Team Sonic all rolled up into one black and red moody package. But he can also teleport. So if super speed and super strength wasn't enough, this bitch can also teleport to wherever the fuck he wants to. He's got other natural given abilities like Chaos Spear and his infamous Chaos Control. Give this fucker a Chaos Emerald, and there's literally nothing that he can't do. So we're finally getting that in live action, and who better to voice Shadow than Keanu Reeves himself? And it's funny because Shadow and John Wick basically have the same backstory. John Wick was an assassin, his wife died, so he wanted to go live in peace. He got a dog, wanted to live in peace. Some selfish Russian men broke into his house, killed his dog, stole his car. Basically, John Wick came out of retirement out of pure anger and killed them all over the course of 4 movies. Shadow, on the other hand, he's part android, part alien DNA. He was created to be the ultimate life form. Essentially, Shadow was supposed to be the cure for immortality, the cure to all sicknesses. And the reason why this professor named Gerald Robotnik, the reason why he created Shadow, Project Shadow, was because his granddaughter, Maria, was dying from a terminal illness. So he had already perfected Project Shadow. All he needed to do was share Shadow's DNA with Maria. But then the government said, nope, y'all ain't doing that because for some reason Shadow's a threat to them. So they broke into the lab and killed everybody except for Shadow, including Maria. Keep this in mind. Maria is a 12-year-old girl, and they straight up shot her. Gerald was taken into custody and was electrocuted by the electric chair. Yeah, they full-on gave him the death penalty. And then his grandson, Eggman, went on to become a world-renowned terrorist and arch-rival to Sonic. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because you fucking murdered his fucking family. So sometimes people will make fun of me and say, oh, well, Sonic's for kids. Yeah, are you aware that your kids are playing a video game where a 12-year-old girl gets shot? Are you aware that they show that on the screen? They show in full detail a 12-year-old girl getting shot? Yeah, this is what your 4-year-olds are playing at home because parents don't pay attention to their kids anymore. A 12-year-old gets shot, and now you have this angry hedgehog running around the city killing people because Shadow literally uses guns too. If he's not powerful enough with his teleportation and super speed and super strength, and he's 10 times more aggressive than Sonic and willing to kill anyone, quite literally kill anyone that gets in his way, now he has a gun and a motorcycle. Why does this fucker need a gun? He can kill you with his bare hands. Because it looks cool, that's why. Watching Sonic 3 in the movie theater was like watching a straight up Marvel movie. They went all out with their attention to detail. Everything looked so realistic. It was very entertaining. I mean, the fight scenes, from full-on shootouts to the very end where they go into their super forms. People are literally comparing this to a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie, if Dragon Ball was ever good. Disney, on the other hand, half-assed their shit, put out a shitty movie with shitty animation and shitty graphics, and rewrote an entire story that they already told. And they wonder why they failed, and they wondered why their competitors were losing. Man, I remember back in 2010, ain't nobody could top Disney. You could like other movies, you could like Madagascar, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batman. But nobody was topping Disney. Didn't matter if you were a boy or a girl, or what your background was, or what your genre was. Literally nobody could top Disney. Now Disney's literally ruining everything. They ruined our classics with their insipid remakes. They ruined Marvel. They bought Star Wars and ruined that too. All Disney knows how to do is ruin shit. And the only reason Disney hasn't gone out of business is because they simply have too much money that they've accumulated since Walt Disney started the company. Frozen 2. Frozen came out in, I think it was 2013. Was definitely on my list of favorites as a kid. Everybody loved Frozen. Frozen was another thing that both boys and girls liked, though most noticeably the girls, but everyone liked Frozen. Frozen was an amazing movie. Frozen 2 came out. I've tried to watch it twice. Both times, I don't remember what happened. I kid you not, I've seen Frozen 2 times, and I have no idea what happened in the movie. Now they're saying, oh, we're gonna make Frozen 3. Don't care. Don't give a shit. You know, there's a podcaster that I listen to. Her name is Brett Cooper. why did her parents name her Brett? That is a guy's name. When she got married, people were posting on her IG, there were all these men commenting sad memes. And someone asked, why are all these men commenting these depressing gifs and whatnot? And someone explained, oh, well, they're basically upset because she's married now and with child, which means they now no longer have a chance with her. She's fucking famous. You already didn't have a fucking chance with her. You fucking dork. She's famous and you're a nobody. She doesn't care about who you are. Well, maybe she does, but she's got a podcast and a YouTube channel and her own show. You've got nothing. You're working a 9-to-5 job at fucking Subway. No one cares about you. She ain't gonna marry you, you little bitch. Also, I'm glad that she got married to someone who's able to tolerate her and not someone like me. Because I would be embarrassed if I had to introduce my wife. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Here's my wife, Brett. Wife? Is she trans or something? No, she's a woman. Once you see her, obviously she's a woman. But I'm telling you right now from my own point of view. If someone came up to me and said, oh, I'd like you to meet my partner, Brett. Oh, you're gay. Oh, no, she's a woman. Oh, so she's trans, meaning she's a man, which means you're gay. Who the fuck names their daughter Brett? So instead of calling her Brett, I figured, well, I'll just refer to her by her last name, Cooper. Well, that doesn't sound much better. Cooper's also a guy's name. Who the fuck named this chick? Can't hang out on Saturday, boys. Me and Brett got a date. Am I the only one noticing something here? Am I the only one who doesn't notice? And you know, it's so ironic because she's a conservative and she's a Christian and she openly talks against things like transgenderism and LGBTQ and all the woke shit that transpired back in 2024. Yet, when I say the name Brett Cooper, and then I mention to people that it's a girl, I sound like I'm talking about a tranny bitch, the very thing that she's against. Yeah. Anyway, so Cooper announced something on her podcast recently. Apparently Disney's making another live-action Peter Pan. As I'm watching this, I'm only thinking to myself, oh my god, let me guess, Tinkerbell's gonna be black. And then Cooper proceeds to say, and surprise, surprise, Tinkerbell is now black. Oh wow, how did I know? I can literally tell the future, guys. I'm so good at predicting shit that I can literally predict shit that I'm actually watching. I quite literally only know about this live-action Peter Pan because Cooper was talking about it, because I don't pay attention to Disney whatsoever. But yeah, Tinkerbell's black, Ariel's black, everyone's fucking race swapped. Disney wants to talk about, oh, we're race swapping everyone because of gender equality and race equality, and okay, so make Tarzan black. Sorry, what? Yeah, make Tarzan black. We can't do that. Why not? According to you guys, anyone who's white is automatically a white supremacist and basically guilty of racism because of their skin color, right? So I guess Tarzan's a white supremacist? Make Tarzan black. Do it. How come all the white people are being changed to black, but none of the black characters? I dare you to make a black Tiana. Remake Princess and the Frog and make Tiana white. Fucking do it. Now, why won't they make Tarzan black? Oh, maybe because he grew up with a bunch of monkeys, and if they made a live-action black Tarzan movie, it would basically be a live-action movie of South Park, which is not what Disney wants to be known as, but they're actually making themselves more and more of a joke every single day. And they won't make their black characters like Tiana white. Because this is ultimately not a race war. It's not about equality. It's about the fact that Disney has joined the woke left's fake propaganda that anyone who is white is automatically a white supremacist and a bigot and a racist and a Nazi and all these horrible things that liberals clearly don't know the meaning of any of the words they use. Kind of like how Disney doesn't know the meaning of the name orphan. Well, liberals don't know the meaning of the word Nazi because they call people like Charlie Kirk a Nazi. What did Kirk do? He exercised his freedom of speech in a very kind way, might I add. Nazis killed people. They called him, what was the word that they love to use so much? Oh, fascist, right. Well, you know what is a fascist is actually Tyler Robinson, who shot a guy simply because he didn't agree with his opinions. And now Disney is calling an abandoned lion cub an orphan. Oh, so his parents are dead? Oh, no, his parents are still alive. Yeah, no, he was raised by a different set of lions because, he got lost one day. But eventually he grows up and runs into his real parents again. So he's not an orphan then. Yeah, no, he's an orphan. Do you know what the word orphan means? How can this company have billions, possibly trillions of dollars, but they can't understand a simple word like orphan? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, and before we wrap this up, this was the dumbest shit in the entire Mufasa movie. The reason, so first of all, let's talk about the original story. Mufasa's the king because he's the firstborn and heir to the throne. Well, in this rewritten live-action bullcrap, Mufasa becomes the king because him and Taka go on this adventure where Taka, aka Scar, basically proves that he's a coward, and Mufasa's the courageous one. So the animals of the Pride Land decide to put in a vote. And everyone votes for Mufasa to be the king instead of Scar. And what does Scar do? Instead of taking this as a life lesson and going, wow, people are really unimpressed with me because I'm a little pussy and a little bitch, I need to work on improving myself. He instead goes, I'm going to kill my brother. My brother who's not even mine, I'm going to kill him and I'm going to become the king myself. Because I was too pussy during this entire movie. Yeah, I can definitely run a kingdom. I ain't got the balls to do any of this shit throughout the movie, but I got the balls to run a fucking kingdom. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Also, this is the African Serengeti, not America. In America, we have a system in place where we vote for our next presidential candidate. In other countries like England, in a place like the African Serengeti where there is a monarchy, no one fucking votes on who their fucking next ruler is. Everyone could fucking hate the king. Hell, everyone hated Scar when he took over the Pride Lands. Did it make a fucking difference? Because what happens is, when a king isn't loved by his people, that king just becomes a dictator. Which is basically what Scar did. Oh, well, Scar's not gonna be our king anymore because we prefer Mufasa. That's not how a monarchy works. Is this America or Africa? Make up your mind, Disney. I swear to God, they can't get anything right, and then they wonder why they're failing. Holy fucking balls, dude. Alright, enough Disney chat. To wrap things up, let's see if I can finish this episode in one take. My last podcast episode, I did it in one take. And that saved me a lot of time editing. And I gotta say, podcasting, my favorite part has got to be the talking part. I fucking hate editing my shit. Editing is like my least favorite thing to do in the entire world. I hate editing. I was also kind of drunk in my last podcast episode, so I was way more unhinged than usual. I'm usually pretty unhinged, but it somehow gets worse when I'm drunk. I remember last year, someone was explaining this to me. He said, this is how you operate. There's Adonis with a filter and then Adonis with no filter, which is you when you're drunk. And I said, I already don't have a filter. And he said, yeah, you already don't have a filter when you're sober, but when you're drunk, it's like you reach another level of extreme. He proceeds to tell me a story. I was out one night, came home drunk. He said I was clearly drunk, almost hit the ground. Like I was very, very drunk. I haven't gotten that drunk in a long time. Even when I made that podcast the other day, I wasn't that drunk. But I basically walked into my apartment complex. Some girl walked in behind me. And as soon as I saw her, I said to her, "Why are you dressed like a whore?" According to the guy who witnessed this, the girl turned around and looked at me in absolute shock. And she was just so stunned, she didn't even know what to say, and she just walked away. That's interesting. So is there really a difference between sober me and drunk me then? Because I don't usually say that to just anyone I see off the street, but I definitely talk that way on my podcast or like with my friends. Or yeah, I'd say something if someone was pissing me off. So apparently this is what happens. When I'm sober, I have somewhat of a filter on where if I'm passing by someone, I'll just mind my own business and won't say anything. But if I'm drunk, I'll walk by the same person and call them a whore. Yeah, well, it's better than some of these fuckers who get in their cars and start driving while they're blasted drunk. If the worst thing I do while drunk is call bitches whores, I'd rather that than get into a car and crash into a tree. Because, yeah, there are people who can't hold their liquor, and they get drunk, and they wake up in jail. At least I wake up in my own bed. But this is also giving me an idea. I wonder if from here on out, I should just get drunk and then record podcast episodes while I'm drunk. Because you think I don't hold back now, it's definitely more extreme when I'm on alcohol. Listen, my last podcast episode, I think I had a total of 5 drinks that night, so I was definitely at least a little drunk when I made it. Recorded the whole thing, one take, no editing whatsoever, and published it. And I wrote the description out and the title out with no misspellings, no nothing. It's almost like the drunk version of myself. Listen, we all have this drunk alter ego. It seems that my drunk alter ego is really no different from my sober personality. It seems that my drunk alter ego, basically what I do is I just act more extreme than I already do. That's it. I don't get it. Most people, they get drunk and they fall asleep in a bush. I get drunk and I just get more extreme on a podcast. Like other people get drunk and they get into bar fights and they're fighting people and they're texting their ex. Me, yo, what's up, whore? I'm gonna go make a podcast episode. You know, alcohol is actually a very powerful weapon because it really reveals who you truly are on the inside, because people don't hold back when they're drunk, kind of like I did the other day. But people really don't hold back when they're drunk, and that's why they tend to get into a lot of trouble. Because when you're sober, you're aware that there's a certain way that you're expected to act, both legally but also socially. You understand that there's a difference between what's socially acceptable and what is socially unacceptable. And when you're drunk, you basically kind of forget that there are these rules and laws that you're supposed to follow, and you basically do whatever the fuck you feel like. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's a boy, girl, conservative, liberal. Everyone who's drunk does shit without thinking twice or even once. They just do it. It's human nature. And it really reveals who they are. So what it's revealed in me is, I mean, you guys pretty much already knew this. I'm basically just an angry person, generally speaking. But let me explain it to you this way. if someone, when drunk, is overly eccentric and happy, chances are they're usually just a really happy person in general. If someone's drunk and they are getting depressed, but they seem fine when they're not drunk, chances are they probably have some depression issues and they're just really good at hiding it. If someone becomes extra flirty when they're drunk, yeah, that's a fucking whore. And if someone becomes angry while drunk, like if you ever hear someone say, oh, he's an angry drunk, he's always angry, he's just able to hide it. There's something demonic about alcohol that like literally possesses you and reveals the worst traits of your personality. Speaking of which, so I spent a lot of time on my last episode absolutely shitting on Gracie DeVito. That, Gracie, if you're listening, I'd like to say I am sorry for absolutely nothing. I regret not a single word I've said on that episode. I'm not really mad about it, at least not anymore. I'm just really confused. I think Parents' Weekend, I was just mad in general because of all the traffic and all the bullshit that was happening throughout. If you were to ask me what my disability is that I have zero tolerance for stupid people. I kid you not, I cannot handle stupid people. And I also have a patience issue. So, you combined stupid people all over the place, plus traffic is absolute horseshit because it's not only Parents' Weekend, but also game day weekend. When I was on my way home, I kid you not, all the main roads that I usually used to get to my house were all closed off. And all the other roads were backed up with traffic. I was pissed off. And everyone knows that Florida has the stupidest drivers. You cannot deny that. I was just thinking of something today, because, you know, I live not far from College Town, so I have to use the roundabout a lot. Nobody knows how to use a fucking roundabout. I don't even know how to use a roundabout at this point. Because I'll pull up to the roundabout and it says yield, okay? Yield does not mean stop, you idiots. Yield means you slow down to let others pass. So I start slowing down, I see a car coming, I slow down, and then they come to a full-on stop. And they're like, no, you go. Alright, so I'm a little confused. Am I supposed to let you pass, or are you supposed to pass? I think I said that wrong. You get the point. So then I'll come back in a little bit, circle it again. Now I have to full on stop because I think this person's gonna let me go. But no, 3 or 4 cars pass by and I have to wait for the entire roundabout to clear before I can finally use it. Now I'm at a point where literally no one knows how to use the roundabout. I think the way it works is you're supposed to stop and let people pass, and then you wait your turn to use the roundabout, basically. But it's literally gotten to a point where literally anyone who pulls up to a roundabout, we all just sit there and we're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do here. Who invented this shit? More importantly, how did these people get their fucking license? People can't drive. People are idiots. That's why I like riding at nighttime, because there are no idiots on the road and I can be in peace and I can be alone and I don't have to deal with anyone's bullshit. Tell me why. The other day I was out for my nightly ride. Some girl points at me and screams at the top of her lungs. Literally runs into the street. And her boyfriend grabbed her. But she had already ran so far out into the street that had I not slammed down on my brakes, I literally would have hit her. And I looked at her and I said, Are you trying to get fucking killed? First of all, it's very obvious that she has a man. They were quite literally holding hands. I happen to know they were holding hands as I was passing by. She sees me, points and screams, runs at me. Boyfriend runs after her and grabs her so she doesn't get hit. But this guy was so slow that had I kept going, there's literally nothing that he could have done to save her. But then also, I have no idea who this chick is. I don't know why she ran after me. But literally nobody is that important that you have to risk your fucking life by running out into the street. Did your parents not teach you to look both ways, not run into the street, don't play in the street, don't... I swear, these fuckers turn 18 and then it's, everything that my parents ever taught me, throw it out the window. In one ear, out the other, flush it down the toilet, don't care, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to. Yep, and that's why y'all are dropping dead from drug overdoses. Because your parents worked so hard to develop your brains and give you the knowledge. What was it that Jonathan Kent said? I don't want to mess this up, but he said something to the effect of, parents are not here to tell our children who they're supposed to be. We're supposed to give you the tools so that y'all can make fools of yourselves and then learn from it. Well, these parents are giving their kids the tools, and then the kids are just straight up putting them in the trash. Parents are going, here's an axe, now use it to cut down a tree and build a house. And their kids are going, I'm instead gonna use the axe to cut a hole in my skull and take out my brain and put in the fucking dumpster. And then I'm gonna go watch TikTok all day. So, why was Gracie nice to me over Parents Weekend? I have no fucking idea why. I don't know why. I have noticed this past week, I've run into a lot of people that I usually don't get along with. And they've been very friendly to me, which is weird. It almost makes you suspicious, as in, what are you planning? Why are you being nice to me? You're always mean to me. Why are you being nice now? So yeah, Gracie was the last person I expected to see. And then she's nice to me. I understand being cordial or whatnot if you don't want to fight. If you see me and you say what's up because you're trying to be a polite person or you just don't want drama, I understand that. But this girl went out of her way to walk up to me and give me a hug. Why? She's made it very clear she does not like me and wants nothing to do with me. So why are you going out of your way to act like you're happy to see me? We both know you're not. I know you're faking it. I don't know why you're putting on a show. Your friends don't like me either. I'm pretty sure you could throw a fucking drink in my face. Hell, you could full on hit me with your car and people would not care. They actually celebrate it, because it's me. I don't know what she's putting on a show for her or why she's pretending to be happy. I know she's made it very obvious she doesn't like me. So why are you suddenly being nice to me? I don't know. I'm very confused on that. But I'll take your kindness over your disrespect any day. I'd rather someone be polite to me. I would rather just, if I don't like someone, I'd rather just not talk to them. But if they're going to go out of their way to be nice to me, then I'd rather that than fighting people 24/7. Just because you're nice to me doesn't mean I'm going to forget what you did or why we no longer talk. Just because you're nice to me doesn't mean that I'm going to hang out with you now. This isn't specifically about Grace. This is me speaking to anyone in general who I've had issues with over the years. If we can have mutual respect for each other and say hello to each other without it turning into a full-on screaming match, I would much rather that than what usually happens when I run into people that I don't like, which is usually there's some sort of negative exchange. I'd much rather say hello to them and then carry on with my business than fighting them. Well, I've been listening to the Charlie Kirk podcast a lot lately, and I've been blasting it as I said I would in his honor. In most recent episodes, there have been guests now hosting the show, like Vice President J.D. Vance hosting a show with messages and kind things to say about him in his honor. And as I'm learning more and more about Charlie, I'm learning more and more about him every day. It's amazing how I haven't heard a single bad thing about this man. I mean, the liberals are still whining that he's racist and homophobic and whatnot, yet they cannot find a single clip of him saying anything at all that's racist. Now, here's the thing. People keep saying, oh, it's Democrat versus Republicans, it's conservatives versus liberals. No. It is very obvious who is bad and who is good now, and which side is right and which side is wrong. It is humanity versus insanity. Because for years, liberals have wished death upon their rivals like Trump and Kirk and Vance and plenty others. Too many to name, honestly. Liberals are obviously full of hate. They are obviously mental. They believe in false ideologies like, oh, if I throw on a wig and identify as a woman, then that gives me the right to go into a woman's bathroom and creep on young girls, and my balls and penis magically disappear simply because I want them to. They celebrated Kirk's death. There was quite literally a man in the crowd cheering. Keep in mind, this man died in front of his family, in front of thousands of people. And the liberals celebrated it. And if celebrating a man getting murdered in broad daylight wasn't bad enough, these fuckers protested his goddamn funeral. How insane do you have to be to protest a fucking funeral? Even I don't do that shit. Like, people tell me I'm bad. No, yes, I know I've made jokes about death. I know I've even told people that they should kill themselves. Never actually meant it. Keep in mind, when the school shooting happened here at Florida State, now I was in the middle of some heavy beef with Florida State and just Florida State in general, because that's when the whole Annabelle case happened. And about a week into it, I shot up the school, killing 2 people in the process. You know what I did is I stopped attacking the school. I stopped with the emails and the podcasting and angry tweets and whatnot. I specifically made a statement saying that I was going to give it a rest to give people time to mourn, mind you. I think it was a total of 2 weeks before I finally started bugging their police department about them not doing their jobs and trying to contact higher authorities about the whole situation. I want to say it was 2 weeks, but at the very minimum, it was at least a week. Because I understood that we just went through something devastating and people needed time to mourn their losses. And school also needed to get some shit together. I thought they were going to up their security, but apparently I was wrong. But I figure, the school's going to be busy with the aftermath of this. And, people just need time in general from this tragedy. So I gave them that time before I carried on with my bullshit. When Kirk was killed, liberals attacked us instantly. They've been attacking us ever since, and they won't give us a fucking break. They didn't give us a chance to mourn. They kept attacking us. If I saw someone die, could be anyone. Obviously, I was really upset about Kirk because he was someone that I really looked up to. But that could have been my worst enemy that got shot in front of his wife and children. And I would have still been upset about it. I could have hated this man's guts. And I would have still been upset about it because fucking no one deserves that. When we found out that Biden was diagnosed with cancer and we all sent him our condolences, but Trump went missing for 2 days. I hope he's dead. If Trump got cancer, y'all would cheer for it and y'all would pray that the cancer would spread faster and kill him faster. And if Trump cured cancer, y'all would complain that curing cancer is racist. I have a right to die from my cancer. Trump is a homophobic and a retard and a rapist because he cured cancer. I mean, these people are mentally insane. This is a big question I have with the world. How is it that we have insane asylums and there aren't people in them? There's so many retards that I see every single day on the internet, out in the street. They're literally everywhere. It's like a fucking plague. And it's like, you belong in an insane asylum. Why are you not in an insane asylum? You know, there was years ago, I used to work at a fast food restaurant. I used to run their drive-thru. And I remember one man, an older man, crazy how people will say, oh, you know, as you get older, you get wiser, yet there are old fucks who act just as dumb and retarded as young fucks. So this older man comes up to the drive-thru box, and he asked me what kind of meat comes on the turkey sandwich. When he said that, I wanted to blow my own brains out. What do you mean, what kind of meat comes on the turkey sandwich? I had to be professional and polite, so I told him. I answered his stupid question. I told him what came on the sandwich, and I didn't say anything to him about it. But what I should have told him was, oh, the turkey sandwich comes with ham. And then when he ends up in the hospital and he sues me because, oh, well, I'm allergic to ham, and you gave me a food allergy because you gave me ham when I wanted turkey, I would have said, Your Honor, I'm not paying this man's medical bills because he's a dumbass and he deserves it. Let me explain to y'all God's plan before we wrap up this episode. Anything in life, anything that happens to you, good or bad, people always say it's part of God's plan, right? And I can see it clearly right now. Not in regards to myself. I don't know what the fuck his plan is for me. Because right now, everything's going sideways. So I don't know what his plan is for me. But I do know what his plan was for Kirk and the Kirk family and America in general. When Robinson fired that bullet, it was obviously to silence Kirk because he didn't like what Kirk had to say. When he did that, he actually did the complete opposite. Instead of silencing this man, he made his voice louder. Because now his actions have forced people to wake up. Seeing liberals celebrating the death of a man quite literally forced America to wake up and realize all the bullshit that was going on and realize that they were living in a delusion. Kirk's show ratings have gone up. His podcast is the #1 podcast in the world right now. His Instagram account is getting millions more followers on the daily. And now, more political extremists like Nick Fuentes, for example, they're now waking up. They're now going to college campuses. They're now, literally all these people woke up And now they're like, well, we're gonna get more extreme in the name of Charlie for Charlie. And these are people who are much more extreme than him in their language and just how they carry themselves in general. Even his own wife, Charlie even stated that his own wife was far more conservative than he was. So yeah, what happened to Charlie was quite unfortunate. It's something that I'm still upset about. I think about it every day. But ultimately, he had to pay the ultimate sacrifice because his death forced millions of people awake. And it has started a revolution. And history is repeating itself. There have been other stories. For example, Martin Luther King Jr. There were plenty of other political extremists who were using harsh language or even violence to get their message across. Martin Luther King Jr. was not rude to anybody. He used peace. He was a strong believer in peace, and he used his speech and his freedom of speech to express himself. And he got shot and killed for it. After he got shot and killed, that's when segregation ended. That's when people woke up and realized all the bullshit that was going on. Read any history book about Martin Luther King Jr., and it was quite literally not long after he was killed that segregation ended. There were no more colored bathrooms. There were no more whites here, colored people there. There was no more... Yeah, there's still racist people out there. But before... You couldn't go to the same school as white people did. Now, you can sue your employer if he fires you simply based on the color of your skin. Times have changed, and we have people like Martin Luther King Jr. to thank for that. But he had to pay a sacrifice in order to get the message across. Just like Kirk had to pay a sacrifice. It's sad, but it's a part of God's plan. And one more thing I'd like to point out about the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. Democrats were the ones who were against banning slavery. Democrats were the ones who were for segregation. There's so many liberal blacks that I see today. I call them niggers. I've explained the difference between a respectable black man and a nigger. But these liberal niggers, they constantly complain about black oppression, and black people are poor, and black people can't have jobs. And this is a big reason why I followed Charlie Kirk, is because he literally said exactly what I was thinking. He said, the color of your skin really has nothing to do with, I forget his exact words, but he says something to the effect of the color of your skin has nothing to do with the opportunities you get or the opportunities you take or your job or your lifestyle. It's all about you and how you present yourself and how you are as a person. All right, say you walk into a job interview and the guy won't hire you because he's a white supremacist and he doesn't like black people. Okay, well, how do you choose to react to that? You can't control the racist white supremacist, but you can't control what you do about it. You can go back to the hood and live in depression and drink and smoke weed all day and complain about, oh, black people are so oppressed and segregation is still a thing. Or you could sue the guy. Or you could say to yourself, that sucks. I don't want to work for this guy anyway, because why am I going to want to work for a racist motherfucker? There are millions of jobs all over the world. Let me just look a little harder. Eventually I'll find something. Eventually I'll find a good workplace where I'm appreciated for who I am as a person and not based off of the color of my skin. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. Back in the 1960s, you quite literally could get arrested for even talking to a white person. So it actually angers me when niggers who are literally lazy and fat. They complain about how they're broke. If you're broke, then why the fuck are you fat? You can clearly afford to stuff all that food down your throat. You can afford that weed you're smoking. So don't complain about you're poor because white people oppress us and white people have more jobs. And shut the fuck up. There's nothing worse than a complainer who refuses to take action. There is nothing fucking worse than someone who complains about shit that they can do something about, but they choose not to. They instead choose to sit on their lazy asses and do absolutely nothing about it and complain and complain and complain, and everything in their world and all their problems is everyone else's fault but their own. People like that fucking aggravate me. And God did show mercy to Charlie Kirk, because we now know that his death was quick and that he died within seconds, and apparently he didn't feel any pain whatsoever because of how quick his death was. So I'm glad that he went straight into the arms of heaven and had a quick and painless death versus a long and painful one. J.D. Vance said, "It is better to die a young man in this world than to sell your soul for an easy life with no purpose, no risk, no love, and no truth." He's absolutely right for that. And this is something that I'm a big believer in. I like to take a lot of risks. I like to, live extremely. I like living in a very fast-paced environment. And a lot of times people will say to me, what you're doing is dangerous, whether it's an activity or just the way I live in general. For example, I eat a lot of junk food. I have a very high metabolism, so it allows me to basically eat whatever I want to without breaking out or gaining weight. And I also don't need to sleep very much. I only get 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, and I operate fine. And people say to me, "Oh, well, don't do that. It's going to take its toll on you when you're older." When I'm older, I might not even be alive tomorrow. I don't know what fate has in store for me. I don't give a shit about, when you're older. You know what? If I'm fortunate enough to reach an old age, I'm going to keep working out. I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to stay active. I'm going to keep an active life like the one I have now so that my body doesn't fucking collapse on me when I turn 60, 70, 80 years old. There's 80-year-old bodybuilders out there. So there's no excuse for the people sitting at home with their cane and complaining that they can't do anything at all with their lives simply because I'm old. Attention, you start realizing how many excuses people make at any age, any gender, literally people will find any reason to make any excuse for anything. "Oh, I can't walk very far because I'm old." Just say you don't want to go for a walk. We're not judging you. "Oh, I don't date because all men are trash." Have you tried dating men that outside of your normal bar hookup culture? Or have you tried dating someone that goes to church on Sundays? Have you tried dating a farm boy with a hard work ethic? Or are the only people you're dating motorcycle guys whose only idea of fun is getting into a bar fight? "Oh, I can't afford anything because I'm broke and I have no money." Okay, what ways are you trying to do to make more money? "Oh, nothing. I kind of just sit at home and watch TV all day." Do you think you're gonna get rich by sitting on your ass all day and watching TV? Do you even like the shows that you're watching? Or are you just depressed and you don't know what to do with your life? "Oh, I want muscles, but I can't get any muscles. I don't know why." How often do you go to the gym? "I don't know, once a month." All right, well, there's your answer. When you start paying attention, you'd be surprised how many excuses people make to comfort themselves. And the most amazing part of Kirk's funeral was when his wife said this: "I forgave him, the shooter, because it's what Christ did and is what Charlie would do." This is why I had such a high level of respect for Charlie, and I also have a lot of respect for his wife as well, was their ability to be kind no matter how people treated them, no matter what life threw at them. It's easy to be mean to people that upset you. It's easy to give people a taste of their own medicine. It's easy to get petty and attack people back who have attacked you. That's easy. But it's a different kind of strength to do what Charlie did and to do what Erica is doing now. To look at these people dead in their faces, to acknowledge the fact that your husband was shot in front of you, and have the courage to go on stage and say to millions of people around the country, "I forgive him for what he did." I've said a lot that niceness is a weakness, but I think I was partially mistaken in that. I think there are different levels to it. I think there's the nice guy who's really not necessarily a nice guy. He's just a pushover. He's a people pleaser. He wants to be liked, so he goes out of his way to be nice to anybody, and he lets people do whatever they want to him because he wants to be liked. But in reality, he doesn't like anyone. He doesn't even like himself. Eventually, those kind of people become mean people because they get taken advantage of. And I think that's something that even happened to me, is I used to be too nice to everyone, and people took advantage of that, and I let it happen. Then there's the second level, is people who are not necessarily bad people. They're not necessarily evil people. They don't necessarily want to hurt other people, but they're kind of assholes. They're arrogant. They behave in rude manners. And I think this is the category that I fall into right now, is we were once the good guys, and the world turned its back on us for it. People put us on these pedestals and expected us to meet these high expectations. And when we didn't meet, listen, you gotta take care of yourself before you take care of anyone else. I meet my own expectations. I don't meet anyone else's. And I've explained this before. I think people put me on a pedestal and I straight up burned it down. A lot of the assholes that I've met are actually the nicest people that I've met in my entire life. They just have no tolerance for bullshit whatsoever. And people are quick to judge, and they're quick to say, "Oh, he's a bad person, he's rude, he's selfish, he's whatever, because, he spoke to me rudely." It might not be necessarily. Get to know these people. And I know this from, I've had many jobs over the years. And the boss who was always an asshole to everybody, once I got to know him, I found out that he actually wasn't an asshole deep within his heart. He just became an asshole because he got tired of people walking all over him. And now that he is an asshole, nobody at the job likes him. But they're afraid of him, and they listen to him. And that's all he cares about. He's here to make sure that the job gets done and that the job gets done well. He doesn't give a fuck about your feelings, because life doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. Life just moves on whether or not you're ready to move on yourself. There are bad people out there who are constantly looking to take advantage of others, to prey upon weaklings, to take advantage of others to benefit themselves. But I feel like a lot of assholes, now there's a difference between assholes and people who are actually bad people with intentions to hurt others. But I think assholes are not necessarily assholes, but they're realists. And I also think a lot of people are simply considered assholes because we live in a generation now where people are so soft that they're affected by mere words. Now, the third and final category is the category that Charlie Kirk falls into and his wife Erica. Is people who are kind to everyone, but they're not pushovers. To have the strength to not let people push you around, to not let people come into your life and tell you what to do, to not act in a certain way to simply please others. But there's another layer of strength to that, to look at people dead in the eye and still respect them, despite the fact that they are disrespecting you. All right, at the end of the day, what Charlie was doing was for his work. He loved doing it, but he did it for his work. There was a lady, there's a viral clip going around right now of a lady going up to the stand. And she said, "I got a call from the doctor. I think your mother missed her abortion." And Charlie's response was, "You seem so sweet. Do you have anyone that loves you in your life?" A little snarky, yeah, but that's what made Charlie Charlie. But he didn't curse her out. He didn't come up with some creative insult to put her in her place. No, he still had some level of respect for her. That doesn't mean he has to invite her into his home. That doesn't mean his kids have to be around her. But there's still that mutual respect. He's not allowing her to push him around. He's not allowing her attitude to affect him. Because I know I just said this, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think this is so important, so I'm going to say it again. It is one level of strength to do what I do, which is not take bullshit from anyone and give them a taste of their own medicine and expose them and get back at them. But it takes an additional level of strength to do what Charlie did and allow people to be disrespectful without letting them disrespect you. The most inspirational quote I've heard this entire week from Erica Kirk herself. "I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do." So, both Charlie and Erica Kirk have inspired me to become a better person, not simply based on what they say. What they say definitely helps, but also by their actions, because actions speak 10 times louder than words do. So, with that being said, I'm announcing this right here on the podcast. Anyone who knows me knows that I've had a lot of enemies, especially recently. I forgive them. I forgive my enemies. It's all in the past. Holding on to grudges doesn't help anybody. Now, forgiving them doesn't mean that I'm going to forget what they did. It's not how the human mind works. You can't forget stuff just because you want to. I'm still gonna be snarky and sometimes an asshole, and I'm still gonna make racist jokes. It's who I am. I'm not changing who I am to please anyone else. And I'm still gonna come on this podcast and make fun of stupid people too. That's what I do. But I'm done with pointlessly striking back at people who've made me angry and weaponizing an entire podcast for the sake of striking back at people. I forgive my enemies. Charlie Kirk had no enemies. He didn't have a single enemy in the world. There were plenty of people who hated him. But you can only become someone else's enemy if you allow them to. Charlie Kirk didn't allow anyone to be his enemy. You cannot be my enemy if I don't acknowledge the fact that you're my enemy. You can come up to me and say right now, I'm your enemy. If I don't accept that fact, it's not going to become a reality because your mind is stronger than anything. What you believe becomes your reality. Kirk didn't have any enemies because he didn't allow himself to fall into that mentality. And now from this point forward, I won't have any enemies either. And I think I've proven to enough people, but most importantly to myself, that I am more than capable of sticking up for myself and defending myself in any given situation. You know, a big reason why The Lion King was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and even now as an adult, was because of how inspirational it was.
Ow! Jeez, what was that for? It doesn't matter. It's in the past. Yeah, but it still hurts. Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Ah! You see? Sometimes.
But I think the most important clip that I need to share today before I end this episode is one from the main man himself. Now, I know a very common issue in 2025, we're about to go into 2026, I can't believe it, but a common issue is dating. Everyone complains about it, both genders complain about it, men hate women, women hate men, but men and women still want to be together, and we're now at a point where basically people don't even date anymore. We're basically one giant hookup culture where we all hook up, but we all secretly hate each other at the same time. But Charlie gave the best dating advice, more powerful than any dating coach could ever give.
What is more important, the money in your pocket or the character in your heart? And let me just give you some other practical advice. Men, if you go on a first date with a woman and you split the check, we got serious problems. I don't care if you have to go into debt, refinance your home, or scrub the dishes for 3 weeks. You do not allow a woman to pay on the first date. Period. Period. Oh, Charlie, I don't have the money. Figure it out. Get a job. Borrow money. Take out a loan on a credit card. I don't care if you don't have $41 to cover her meal. What is more important, the money in your pocket or the character in your heart?